Hi, I'm Libby. Welcome to my Grocery X Learn English podcast. Today we're gonna talk about the impact of carbon sequestration on the climate. Introduction. A. Definition of carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration refers to the process of capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas, to mitigate the impacts of climate change. B. Importance of carbon sequestration for the climate. The increasing levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide have been linked to global warming and other severe impacts of climate change. Carbon sequestration is seen as a critical strategy to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and mitigate these impacts. C. Overview of the topic. In this blog post, we will explore the concept of carbon sequestration and its potential to combat climate change. We will discuss the various types and methods of carbon sequestration, their benefits, challenges, and limitations. 2. What is carbon sequestration? A. Types of carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration can occur through natural processes or through human-driven methods. Natural processes include the absorption of carbon dioxide by oceans, forests, and soil. Human-driven methods of carbon sequestration include agricultural and forestry practices, ocean fertilization, and direct air capture and storage. B. Mechanisms of carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration works by capturing atmospheric carbon dioxide and storing it in long-term sinks, such as deep geological formations, oceans, or soils. This helps to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, mitigating its impacts on the climate. C. Natural processes of carbon sequestration. Nature provides several natural mechanisms for carbon sequestration, including the uptake of carbon dioxide by oceans, forests, and soils. The carbon is stored in these ecosystems in the form of organic matter and helps to regulate the Earth's climate. 3. Benefits of carbon sequestration. A. Reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon sequestration helps to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, reducing the levels of greenhouse gas emissions. This can help to mitigate the impacts of climate change and reduce the risk of global warming. B. Mitigation of global warming. By reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, carbon sequestration can help to mitigate the impacts of global warming, including rising temperatures and more frequent extreme weather events. C. Climate regulation. Carbon sequestration helps to regulate the Earth's climate by removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in long-term sinks. This helps to maintain the balance of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, mitigating the impacts of climate change. 4. Methods of carbon sequestration. A. Agricultural and forestry practices. Agricultural and forestry practices can be used to sequester carbon by promoting the growth of vegetation and soil organic matter. This includes practices such as conservation tillage, agroforestry, and the use of cover crops. B. Ocean fertilization. Ocean fertilization is a method of carbon sequestration that involves adding nutrients to the ocean to promote the growth of phytoplankton, which absorb atmospheric carbon dioxide. The carbon is then stored in the ocean as organic matter. C. Direct air capture and storage. Direct air capture and storage is a technology-based method of carbon sequestration that involves capturing atmospheric carbon dioxide using chemical processes and storing it in long-term sinks, such as deep geological formations. V. Challenges and limitations of carbon sequestration. A. Cost and scalability. One of the main challenges of carbon sequestration is the cost and scalability of the methods used. While some methods, such as agricultural and forestry practices, are relatively inexpensive, others, such as direct air capture and storage, are still in the early stages of development and may be expensive and difficult to scale up. B. Public perception and adoption. Another challenge of carbon sequestration is public perception and adoption. Some methods, such as ocean fertilization, have raised concerns about their potential environmental and social impacts. It is important to address these concerns and promote public understanding and support for carbon sequestration efforts. C. Environmental and social impacts. The environmental and social impacts of carbon sequestration methods must also be considered. For example, some methods, such as ocean fertilization, may have unintended impacts on marine ecosystems, while others, such as direct air capture and storage, may require large amounts of energy and resources to implement. 6. Conclusion. A. Recap of the impact of carbon sequestration on the climate. Carbon sequestration is a promising strategy for mitigating the impacts of climate change. By reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and regulating the Earth's climate, it can help to mitigate the impacts of global warming and other severe impacts of climate change. B. Final thoughts on the importance of carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration is an important part of the global effort to combat climate change. It is critical to explore and develop new methods of carbon sequestration and promote public understanding and support for these efforts. C. Recommendations for future research and implementation. Future research and implementation of carbon sequestration should focus on reducing the cost and scalability of the methods used, addressing public perception and adoption, and minimizing the environmental and social impacts of the methods. It is also important to continue exploring new and innovative methods of carbon sequestration to ensure that we can effectively mitigate the impacts of climate change. Thank you for listening to Grocery X Learn English podcast. If there's a topic you'd like me to talk about in a further episode, just send an email to info@grocery-x.com and see you next time. Please like, share, and subscribe my channel.